And welcome to the Minister. I think it's important to be very clear and to continue to say to ourselves every day, housing is a public good. It doesn't matter whether it's a Mehel or a co-op or a private builder or the state that actually builds, but the state has to underwrite and has to make sure that the environment and many of the things already stated this afternoon are in place and actually be the ultimate ward boss to make sure it happens for everyone. You can't have any kind of a stabilised society, civilization, if you don't have housing, a place for people where they can call it their own. Whether they own it or not doesn't matter, but once they can call it their own and they have a lien on it. There is a crisis, Minister, within the crisis, and I'm talking about people with disabilities. Prior to our national housing crisis, there was a crisis for people with disabilities. Your own department was able to say back in 2003, from their own statistics, there was just shy of 4,000 people with disabilities on the social housing list. Your information, when you updated that in 2016, it has gone to 4,500. Rebuilding Ireland didn't even mention the 3,919 people that the department knew about. So I am very, very concerned that the crisis within the crisis doesn't seem to be a crisis for government, and I want reassurance about that. This House unanimously passed a motion in July of last year in relation to disability and housing, and there was to be action following that. It was passed by all sides of the House, and I appreciate that very much. I would simply ask now, I won't go into the details of it, that there is an urgent update on what actions have been taken, on what was agreed by everybody in this House at that time. The great United States, it's worth remembering, was the country that incubated the economic crisis that went around the globe a decade ago. And it's even more interesting to recall what it was that sparked that. It was private entities giving loans to people who didn't have the wherewithal to pay them back. And so those who made those loans diced and sliced them into all sorts of packages and sold them on, and hence the crisis was exported. Okay, we had things going in the wrong direction for ourselves at the time. The point I'm making is this: social housing is a social and public good, and it has to be underpinned very strongly by the state. We're at a situation now where there's 178 million of public funding that has been garnered together from savings this year that's going to be given back to people who paid their water charges. Give or take, and we could have a discussion about this, give or take, that would fund 800 social houses for people with disabilities. So within all of this, and not questioning the motivation of government for a moment, there are choices that are being made, and very serious choices. I am very concerned, and I'm going to conclude with this, that there was not any commitment to housing for people with disabilities in Rebuilding Ireland. There was a half-page that talked about working groups and strategies within strategies, but there was no actual commitment. And the fact that the department didn't even mention the actual housing need that it knew of for people with disabilities. Social housing for people with disabilities has to be a significant part of the response to the crisis. And within that, there's the also very important element of housing support for people, the grant scheme for people to adapt their houses. These are very significant, and I would ask you, Minister, to please attend to these matters.
Thank you.